I'm clearly not the kind of guy who'd choose salad over most carbs or meat, but if you put this kisir in front of me, I'll devour the whole thing. Known as iç in Armenia and kisir in Turkey, this salad is famous for its umami sweet and sour flavour, but alongside being delicious, it's a great salad for keeping you full. Here's why. The base ingredient for this salad is perfectly cooked bulgur, which is pretty easy to make if you have the right stuff. Bulgur is a wheat grain that is cracked into small pieces which vary in size from coarse to medium to fine bulgur. When you add liquid to bulgur, it soaks it up, doubling in size and absorbing any flavours you add to it. For kisir, measure out 2 cups or 380 grams of fine bulgur into a large bowl, as it will double in size. You then combine 1 cup or 235 grams of room temp water with 1 more cup of boiling water, which will give you a temperature between 45 to 55 degrees Celsius. Pour some of the water into your bowl and the bulgur will quickly absorb it and expand. I learnt this technique from Rafika's kitchen and it's the perfect way to make bulgur for any salad. Then add the rest of the water until the bulgur is just barely covered and then top the bowl with a plate. Leave this to steam for about 20 minutes and give it a mix a few minutes through, then you can prep the rest of the ingredients while you're waiting. Start with 8 to 10 spring onions, which you're going to chop 2 ways. For the white part, chop these into rings that are fairly thin and small. When you get to the middle of the green part where it gets soft, trim off any bits that are too soft and then cut the rest of the greens into fairly large circles. These are the 2 sizes you should have. You then need to chop a load of herbs into fine strips, so start by sharpening your knife. This is 175 grams of parsley, and you should remove the stalks as they make the kisir too chewy. Once you've done that, stack the parsley into a big pile, and then pack and roll it into a tightly wound bundle. Slice off the front of the pile, and that tight bundle will make it easier to slice through without bruising the leaves. Any remaining leaves can then be chopped separately, and that should give you some nicely sliced parsley ribbons. You also need to chop about 8 to 10 sprigs of mint or about 25 grams in a similar manner. For these you want to strip the leaves from the stalks, then stack them into a pile and roll them kind of like a cigar. Then you chop through it to get fairly small ribbons like these. By the time you finish chopping those, your bulgur will probably be done and the grains will have expanded to more than twice their size. Fluff it up with a spoon or fork and each of the grains should fall away from each other. Give it a taste and check the texture. It should be soft and a little bit bouncy but not dry or soggy. When you're happy with it, take a deep oven dish and add the bulgur to it because we'll mix it in the dish. Start off by putting on some gloves because you'll have to knead it by hand. Add 3 tablespoons of Turkish red pepper paste to the bulgur, which is an umami paste made from red peppers. It's a big component in many delicious Turkish dishes. Try using it in place of tomato paste next time you cook. This is the hot pepper version labelled asi, though it's also sold in a mild form labelled tatli. Don't worry if you can't get it because alongside it you'll also add 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Instead of red pepper paste, you just add the same amount of tomato in its place, and then for extra flavour added some paprika. With those added, you should knead them into the bulgur until it reaches a single uniform colour. Massage the paste into the bulgur, making sure to mix in any uncoloured bits and going back and forth for about 10 minutes. When that time is over, it will really start to clump up and get stiff. We'll now add the seasonings, starting with 1 teaspoon each of salt, cumin, Pul Biber or Aleppo pepper flakes, and then half a teaspoon of black pepper. When I made this years ago, people suggested adding isot or Urfa biber, which is a purpley black chili flake from the Urfa region of Turkey that is made from sun-dried chili peppers. It is moist and full of natural oils with a smoky and hot flavour that really adds extra depth, and I think it's a great optional ingredient for kisir if you have some. Next, pour over 80 to 120 milliliters of pomegranate molasses, then again you'll get to kneading it, this time for about 2 to 3 minutes until it's all evenly darkened. Give it a taste and adjust the seasonings if you need to. I used pure pomegranate molasses so the flavour isn't as sweet or sour as the commercial brands, so I added an extra 40 milliliters, but you could add lemon instead. When you're happy with how it tastes, spread out the bulgur and pour over 120 milliliters of olive oil. You then mix and combine this, kneading it until the oil has been absorbed and the bulgur has softened. Now you'll add the green onions to the mix and combine them with the bulgur. Get it evenly distributed, then push it to one side and start breaking up the bulgur into small clumps. The traditional tray used to make this has dimples which help to break up the bulgur, but you'll have to do it by hand to stop the bulgur from being too clumpy. Once it's all a bit broken up, add the herbs, but don't do this too early because you only want to briefly mix them so they don't bruise. Mix in the mint and parsley so they're well distributed, and that should help break up the kisir into even smaller pieces. You want it to form really small clumps, and then at this point your kisir is practically ready. I like to leave it for about 15 to 20 minutes before serving, or even better overnight, as the bulgur will continue to absorb the liquids and dry out, and it will have a firmer texture and more developed flavour. The way to eat this is to take lettuce or grape leaves and use them like a cup to scoop up a pile of the bulgur. So to serve we need plenty of lettuce like these baby gem. Separate the individual leaves and clean them well before you start plating. Fluff up the kisir into very small clumps and then lay out your lettuce onto a plate, covering the whole base. Then using your hand, break up and drop the kisir onto the lettuce to form a big pile, and that's pretty much it. Although kisir is actually a fairly simple recipe, you can easily make similar salads with other herbs and vegetables.
That's a good bite.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be eating this whole thing. Honestly, this salad is just incredible. It is packed full of so much sweet and sour flavour from the pomegranate molasses, and then loads of umaminess from the pepper paste. It's just perfect, and it's going to keep you full for ages. And if that kind of salad sounds like your thing, make sure to watch these other videos for more Middle Eastern salad recipes.